your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Take it on the run, on the run, on the run. Hear them calling you and me, every son of liberty. Hurry right away, no delay, go today. Make your daddy glad to have had such a lad. Tell your sweetheart not to hide, to be proud her boys in line. Over there, over there. Send the word over there. That the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming. The drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer. Send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over. And we won't come back till it's over there. Johnny, get your gun, get your gun, get your gun. Johnny, show the Hun you're a son of a gun. Hoist that flag and let her fly. Yankee Doodle, do or die. Pack your little kit, show your grit, do your bit. Yankees to the ranks, from the towns and the tanks. Make your mother proud of you and the old red, white, and blue. Over there, over there. Send the word over there. That the Yanks are coming, the Yanks are coming. The drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer. Send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over. And we won't come back till it's over there.
The title of the stream should make it pretty obvious to what we're doing today. I'll say war. I think we all know what war we're talking about. Doesn't, I mean, it kind of exists right now, but not with our direct involvement, legally speaking. Of course, talking about, America and Israel against Iran. What started out as not that. It started out as Israel versus Hamas. And I figure a good way to start this would to be to kind of just go through the timeline of events. Obviously not all the way back to the 50s. If you need an update on the 50s, starting there. A bunch of Israeli nationalists wanted a new state of Israel after World War II, so they did things like attack British soldiers, suicide bombs for their own state of Israel, and they did it to the UK because the UK was in charge of redrawing the world's map after World War II, which, as we know, had a lot of great things come out of it, right? But, and we like to use Israel we, as in America, as a puppet state to do whatever the fuck we want over in the Middle East. And the way we've gotten around it is for our citizens to support fighting on the side of Israel, no matter what war crimes they do for so long, is because the word Israel is in the Bible. Therefore, they must be the good guys. It really boils down to racism and religion, just like most problems in America do. So I think without further ado, let's start on October 7th, 2023, when, without any context at all, for no apparent reason, this rebel group called Hamas attacked Israel. I don't know why it waited this long in the thing. Okay, but alright, so here's the president at the time, what he had to say about it the next morning.
Good afternoon. You know, there are moments in this life, I mean this literally, when the pure, unadulterated evil is unleashed on this world. The people of Israel lived through one such moment this weekend. The bloody hands of the terrorist organization Hamas, a group whose stated purpose for being is to kill Jews. This was an act of sheer evil. More than one.
Notice no actual political historical context. The only thing that he says about Hamas is that they want to kill Jews. Like, they don't have any more, like he's trying to say they don't have any more reasoning than that for what they're doing. And I'm not saying Hamas are good guys either, but to say one side's pure evil and the other side is just defending itself means you don't know dick about history, and that's what he's counting on, is that you don't know history at all, because most people don't. But anyway, let's continue.
1,000 civilians slaughtered, not just killed, slaughtered in Israel. Among them, at least 14 American citizens killed. Parents butchered using
14 Americans, aka real people. Those are the people you're supposed to feel bad for.
their bodies to try to protect their children. Stomach-turning reports of babies being killed. Entire families slain. Young people massacred while attending a musical festival to celebrate peace. Women raped, assaulted, paraded as trophies. Families hid their fear for hours and hours, desperately trying to keep their children quiet to avoid drawing attention. And thousands of wounded, alive but carrying with them the bullet holes and the shrapnel wounds and the memory of what they endured. You all know these traumas never go away. There's still so many families desperately waiting to hear the fate of their loved ones, not knowing if they're alive or dead or hostages. Infants in their mother's arms, grandparents in wheelchairs, Holocaust survivors abducted and held hostage. Hostages whom Hamas has now threatened to execute.
You're going to be hearing those terms a lot, by the way. Holocaust and, one he hasn't said yet, anti-Semitism. You're going to be hearing that a lot from people that bring up any kind of hole in the narrative of the story. Is it bad that these people were just attending a music festival and then they were killed? No shit. Nobody's going to argue with that. It's the response after this that's bad. We'll listen to a little more of Joe here. He shows up quite a bit.
In violation of every code of human morality. It's abhorrent. The brutality of Hamas, his bloodthirstiness brings to mind the worst rampages of ISIS. This is terrorism. But sadly, for the Jewish people, it's not new.
He's not saying the Israeli people. He's saying the Jewish people. Like, and he brings up the Holocaust. Like, there's a lot of cry bullying that happens with those labels in the next year and a half.
This attack has brought to the surface painful memories and the scars left by a millennia of anti-Semitism and genocide of the Jewish people. So in this moment, we must be crystal clear. We stand with Israel. We stand with Israel. We will make sure Israel has what it needs to take care of its citizens, defend itself, and respond to this attack. There's no justification for terrorism.
By the way, Israel has a large enough military that they wouldn't even need our aid to take down a small terrorist organization. This is literally us just shoving our dick in where it doesn't belong. Like they're very well armed. They have one of the most. They don't have one of the largest militaries in the world, but they are one of the most advanced militaries in the world, and that's because of us. So
There's no excuse. Hamas does not stand for the Palestinian people's right to dignity and self-determination. Its stated purpose is the annihilation of the state of Israel and the murder of Jewish people. They use Palestinian civilians as human shields. Hamas offers nothing but terror and bloodshed with no regard to who pays the price. The loss of innocent life is heartbreaking. Like every nation in the world.
alright. That's enough of that. But because I want to get to what happened right after. Fox News came along. Biden ripped for not mentioning Iran by name in speech on Hamas attacks. Utterly irresponsible and weak. Biden gives a speech on attack on Israel and does not even mention Iran, former White House speechwriter says. And that's the speech we just watched. Fox says, President Biden was heavily criticized by conservatives on social media because that's so out of pocket for conservatives to talk shit about Biden online. For not mentioning Iran. A state sponsor of Hamas, in an address to the nation Tuesday when he reacted to the terrorist group's attack on Israel that left more than 1,000 Israelis dead. Speaking from the White House and flanked by Vice President Harris and the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, Biden vowed the U.S. has Israel's back as it prepares for a ground invasion of the Gaza Strip just days after the Hamas terrorist group crossed the border and slaughtered Israeli civilians, including women, children, and babies. We must be crystal clear. We stand with Israel. We stand with Israel. And we will make sure Israel has what it needs. Take care of it. We just listened to that part. Conservatives took to X, formerly Twitter, artist known formerly as Twitter, after Biden's speech and slammed him for not mentioning Iran. He spoke for 10 minutes, then turned his back and shuffled away. A social media account associated with the RNC. He did not even mention Iran. After the president's speech, Fox News contributor Joe Concha, 14 Americans are dead. An unknown number had been taken hostage. President Biden just spoke for 11 minutes before quickly walking away without taking any questions. No mention of Iran whatsoever. After a weekend of barbecue and a half days, Joe Biden has zero answers, Roger Marshall said. Shows up over an hour late to his address to the nation, confirms 14 Americans are dead and more Americans are being held hostage, gives zero strategy to save them, makes no mention of Iran, takes no questions. Biden gives a speech on attack on Israel and does not even mention Iran, Mark Thiessen. Here's Ayatollah here. No mention of Biden's remarks and restrained verbal response to the murder of Americans. Weak. Biden forgot to mention the word Iran. Zero mention of Iran. So, the Wall Street Journal reported Sunday that Iranian security officials approved Hamas's plan to attack Israel during a meeting in Beirut October 2nd. Hamas and Hezbollah leaders said Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps worked with Hamas since August on air, land, and sea attack plans. This is back when Gaza just had one little fire here and there was all this standing infrastructure. A European official who works as an advisor to the Syrian government corroborated The Hamas and Hezbollah leaders claim, according to the Wall Street Journal, through U.S. officials, say they have not seen evidence of Iran's involvement in the attacks. We have not yet seen evidence that Iran directed or was behind this particular attack, but this is certainly a long relationship. So, right off the bat, let me see. What's this guy?
I live in Tel Aviv, Israel. I was at home. You know, it's a weekend. We were resting, and I'm sitting there looking at social media, and I see this video that's running. It's like it looks like it's a white pickup truck with armed men on it in an Israeli city, and it looks like a show, like a TV show. It's like, it doesn't look real. I was like, there's fake news all the time. What is this thing? But it comes up a few times, and I'm like, this looks real. And it's just like, how is it possible they got a car in? It's when I realized something different is going on. Hamas and Palestine are not the same thing. Hamas is like ISIS. If you are pro-Palestinians, if you are pro the people who live in Gaza, you also should be against Hamas. It's not the same thing. And the conflict is...
Pay attention to that line right there. Hamas is not Palestine. So, what's funny about that is in the next few weeks, actually it's more, I don't know why I said weeks, this entire time, Israel, as we all know, I mean, unless you've been living under a fucking rock, has been bombing the shit out of Palestinian citizens. There's footage of the Israelis even sending out drones that sound like crying babies, trying to get people to come out of their houses at night, and then the drone just kills them. They're just blowing the shit out of this place. It's very obvious that they're doing it for land grab. They don't want those people living there anymore. They want the whole area. So they're genociding. If you bring that up at all and point out war crimes, they're labeling you an anti-Semite and that you hate Jewish people. You hate Jewish people because you're not letting the Israeli government murder a bunch of fucking people. That continues to be the rhetoric for quite a fucking while. What we got next? Yeah, so then, the leader of Iran says, nah, fuck. Well, fuck Reuters. So basically he says that, they're not behind it. This was Hamas doing its own thing. And then, later on, about a year ago, Biden gives another speech. This is about Ukraine and Israel. So let's listen to that.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. We're facing an inflection point in history. One of those moments where the decisions we make today are going to determine the future for decades to come. That's what I'd like to talk with you about tonight. Early this morning, I returned from Israel. They tell me I'm the first American president to travel there during the war. I met with the Prime Minister and members of his cabinet. And most movingly, I met with Israelis who had personally lived through horrific horror of the attack by Hamas on the 7th of October. More than 1,300 people slaughtered in Israel, including at least 32 American citizens. Scores of innocents, from infants to the elderly grandparents. Israelis, Americans taken hostage. As I told the families of Americans being held captive by Hamas, we're pursuing every avenue to bring their loved ones home. As president, there is no higher priority for me than the safety of Americans held hostage. The terrorist group Hamas unleashed pure, unadulterated evil in the world. But sadly, the Jewish people know...
There's that line again. Pure, unadulterated evil with no context to what's been happening for the past, 70, 80 years.
Perhaps better than anyone, that there's no limit to the depravity of people when they want to inflict pain on others.
That's 100% true. I do agree with that. I know he's applying it to one thing, but I definitely do agree with it towards pretty much everybody. This
That there is no limit to the depravity of people when they want to inflict pain on others.
Yeah, that's probably the truest thing this motherfucker has ever said. Like, it's also might be the most coherent thing, but we're not here to talk about that.
In Israel, I saw people who are strong, determined, resilient, and also angry, in shock and in deep, deep pain. I also spoke with President Abbas, the Palestinian Authority, and reiterated that the United States remains committed to the Palestinian people's right to dignity and to self-determination. The actions of Hamas terrorists...
He proceeds to do nothing to help the Palestinian people, by the way. Like at all. We were going to make like an aid block. That didn't last. And at this point, too, the Israeli government is killing reporters that are just trying to report what's happening there. Like I said, slaughtering shitloads of Palestinian people. Towards the end of this, we'll kind of look at... Actually, we can go ahead and do that now. Hold on. Let's... The Gaza War. So... Let's look at some statistics here. So the belligerents... Obviously, our name's not up there, but you have Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades, Palestinian Mujahideen Movement, Palestinian Freedom Movement, Popular Resistance Committees, Popular Front of the Liberation of Palestine General Command. Okay, yeah, you get it. So, Israel, the American rhetoric, and really the Western rhetoric, is that Israel is just defending itself, right? Let's look at these casualties here. Gaza Strip. Okay, or actually, let's look at Israel total losses. 967 civilians killed, 1,016 security forces killed, 82 captured or abducted killed, 13,000 wounded. And yeah, that's bad. Let's look over here at the Gaza Strip. 69,928 plus reported killed, including 55,706 recorded killed, and 14,222 missing and presumed dead. Indirect deaths likely multiple times higher. 129,320 wounded, 12,000 detained. In the West Bank, that's just the Gaza Strip. The West Bank, 952 plus killed, 7,370 wounded. Militants inside Israel, 1,609 killed, 200 captured. So here's the people that actually like attacked Israel. Is these people down here. Like, this was taken care of. Let's go down a little bit. We'll get to this point in the story too. Lebanon and Syria. They killed 4,047 people in Lebanon, and they killed 567 Syrians. So overall, right now, the war's not over. Plus, we haven't counted all the bodies yet. It's going to take years to count all the bodies from the rubble. But as of right now, there are 2,003 dead Israelis. There are 77,103 Palestinians, Lebanese, and Syrian people. Do you notice a pattern here? By the way, the people of Hamas, 20 to 40,000. Israel strength, 529,500. I'm just like, you see what I'm trying to say, right? That if you think that Israel is just an outstanding good guy, I didn't do anything wrong, ooh woo, you're fucking stupid or racist. A lot of people are just biblically racist and biased. But was there anything else I wanted to pull from this speech?
Don't take that right away. Like so many other, I'm heartbroken by the tragic loss of Palestinian life, including the explosion at the hospital in Gaza, which was not done by the Israelis. We mourn every innocent life lost. We can't
Wait, what?
done by the Israelis. The explosion at the hospital in Gaza, which was not done by the Israelis.
It was done by the Israelis. All these explosions have been done by the Israelis. It is funny how all the terrorists seem to be hiding in hospitals and schools.
We mourn every innocent life lost. We can't ignore the humanity of innocent Palestinians who only want to live in peace and have an opportunity. You know?
Yeah. I do feel bad for those people. But this evil vampire piece of shit did nothing about it.
The assault on Israel echoes nearly 20 months of war, tragedy, and brutality inflicted on the people of Ukraine. People that have...
We're not here to talk about Ukraine, but they are kind of relevant later. Yeah, so that's... At this point in time, those are the two big things going on. I like that face I landed on, by the way. Somebody's under the desk in this screenshot. But those are the two wars going on at this point, right? Is the Israel-Hamas war, or the Gaza war as it's now called, and the Russo-Ukrainian war. That'll kind of come into play a little bit later. So next. So Israeli airstrike in Syria kills top Iranian military advisor. So yeah, they started attacking Syria and Lebanon. If it'll load. Play, please. Play, please.
And returning to some breaking news now, an Israeli airstrike outside the Syrian capital Damascus has killed a senior member of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Sardar Sayed Razi Musavi was one of the top commanders of the IRGC. Let's get more on this from our correspondent Ali Hashim. He is joining us from Naqoura in southern Lebanon. Firstly, Ali, what more are you hearing about this strike?
Iran has not done anything at this point, by the way. Iran has, even if they did like Hamas, they were buds, you know, they'd, gone out drinking, hanging out before. Iran had not done anything in this war yet, up to this point, at December, on Christmas of 2023, is when this is. Iran had not done anything yet, but Israel decided to bomb foreign countries to start killing Iranian people.
Well, just afternoon today, there was an Israeli airstrike on a target near the Al-Zainabiyya neighborhood to the south of Damascus. Later on, we understood that Sayyid Razi al-Musawi, who is also known as Sayyid Razi, was the target of this Israeli attack. As a matter of fact, Sayyid Razi al-Musawi is one of the oldest IRGC commanders in Syria and Lebanon. He's been functioning in this area since the 80s, so since the beginning of the Islamic Revolution. He and several other IRGC commanders came to this region, and later on he became so close to the slain Quds commander, IRGC commander Qasim Soleimani, who was also assassinated 3 years ago in Baghdad. So according to our sources,
and you might be wondering, well, and I can hear the detractors being like, well, what's this guy doing in Syria? They're allies. Like, at this point, they're allies. Yeah, so he was killed. He was responsible for coordinating the military alliance between Syria and Iran, an important part of Iran's regional network of allies and proxies known as the Axis of Resistance. Mousavi was killed during an attack by a Zionist regime a few hours ago. I mean, at this point. Let's see here. Yeah. Iran's state television interrupted its regular news broadcast to announce that he had been killed, describing him as one of the most experienced advisors in Syria. The strike comes amid fears that Israel's war with the Palestinian armed group Hamas in Gaza could expand into wider regional conflict, pulling in Iran-backed troops such as Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, which they did attack that. So, this happens. People start voicing concern again, like, hey, I don't know if this is a good thing to be doing, and you're labeled an anti-Semite again, and you're just a stupid lefty. When it comes to the media and the government, whether they like to label, you know, you have the right-wing ones and then you have the right-wing ones that label themselves left-wing, they were all, like, on the side of Israel. Reuters is probably going to be an ass again. Yeah. But basically what happened after that is Iran striked a base, and it had American troops in it, because it was very obvious at this point that we were aiding them. We were aiding the shit out of them. We gave more money to Israel than we did to the Palestinian civilian aid. So then we had pressure. Biden was under pressure to strike Iran back. Republicans were being like, you need to hit him. And then here's a little timeline of everything that happened so far. This is in Tehran. Okay, well that's Iran's systems blocking an Israeli attack. At this point, fears of regional war have heightened after Israel attacked Iran with a wave of missiles on Saturday morning, claiming it struck military sites. Iran has yet to confirm, although officials in Tehran said air defense systems had intercepted several incoming missiles. The Israeli strikes were expected in response to missiles launched at Israel by Iran on October 2nd. That's the ones that, haven't. So basically, here, I'll go to the next story. Next. After Israel did that, Iran is not likely to retaliate after alleged Israeli strike. They're not ready, is what Fox says. Iran is likely to use proxies and other methods against Israel rather than directly attack against Israel. So, here we go.
But first, let's get right to Trey Yanks. He's reporting live on the ground in Tel Aviv for us at this hour. Trey, what are you hearing from your sources about this strike?
Sandra, good afternoon. We are learning more about this rare daytime strike in Damascus, Syria, that killed top Iranian General Mohammad Zahedi. Zahedi is the man responsible for weapon shipments from Tehran to Damascus that are ultimately ending up in the hands of Hezbollah and used to target Israeli troops in the northern part of this country.
Also, I wonder why all these countries feel like arming themselves against Israel. They aren't doing anything. They're only killing indiscriminately at this point.
According to initial reports, other members of Iran's IRGC were inside the building at the time of the reported Israeli strike. This is a significant development and one that will have repercussions across the Middle East. We are getting that statement in just now from Iran's ambassador to Syria, Hossein Akbari, who said the Iranian response to this strike will be, quote, swift, direct, and harsh. Zahedi is someone who is seen as a successor to other regional commanders who previously reported to Qasem Soleimani, that top Iranian general who was killed in the 2020 drone strike outside of Baghdad's international airport. He reported most recently to Ismail Khani, the leader of the Quds forces of Iran's IRGC. And the question now is how and if Iran will respond to this strike. They have a variety of options. And remember, Israel has been in direct and sustained conflict with Iranian proxies across the Middle East for the past 178 days. Overnight, a drone was launched, likely by...
They keep saying proxy because it's a group. Because Hamas was a group in Palestine that liked Iran. Again, acting like there's no other reason Hamas exists except that they're just pure evil. They just woke up one day and they're like, you know what? I want to be evil and kill everybody in Israel. So, then this happens. This was August of 2024. Iran rejects pleas from U.S. Arabs to show restraint in response to assassination of Hamas leader. They got the Hamas leader. Okay, it's not related. Iran rejected calls by the U.S. and Arabs to make sure its response to the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. This comes after Iranian officials announced they were investigating the security breaches that led to the attack. Iranian leaders have pledged to retaliate, telling Arab diplomats on Saturday that it does not matter to them if the response led to a war. The U.S. requested that partner governments in Europe and elsewhere convey a message to Iran not to escalate tensions. They struck in Iran and bombed them, and now they're like, Iran, please don't escalate this. Why are you making this a thing? Come on. So that's here was the guy who was killed. Nobody claimed responsibility for the attack, but Iran and Hamas have accused Israel. It was 100% Israel. We moved forward a little bit, and they were like, hey, would you support Israel attacking Iran's nuclear sites?
Yes, look, I called a meeting of the G7 today. We're working on a joint statement all of us agree on, from Japan to France to Germany to etc. And what we're doing in that regard is we're making it clear that there are things that have to be done. And it's obviously Iran has gone way is way off course. We're going to put together a joint statement. Hasn't been done yet. It'll be done before too long, probably by the time we land. And there's going to be some sanctions imposed on Iran.
Sir, do you support an attack on Iran's nuclear sites by Israel?
The answer is no. I think there's things we'll be discussing with the Israelis what they're going to do, but all 7 of us agree that they have a right to respond, but they should respond in proportion.
Ow. Okay. But yeah, there he was saying that he would not support Israel striking nuclear sites. By the way, U.S. spies have come out and said that Iran was not working on the nuclear missile. With what we're going to get to, they'd be stupid not to now. And, I mean, Israel illegally owns a bunch of nukes. We don't invade them for it. So, that's a whole lot of fun. Also, the whole time this is happening, there's all these people that were Biden voters saying, like, hey, you need to tell Israel to stop. And then he's like, I'm trying, buddy. I'll be really mean to him on the phone, but I can't promise anything. AKA he didn't do jack shit. This is what the government wants to happen. He's just more trying to save face about it, I guess. Pathetically, like badly done, but that is what's happening. That wasn't supposed to be here, but let's see here. And then something else happened.
The world is reacting to news that former President Trump is heading back to the Oval Office.
CBS's Holly Williams has more.
Good evening, Lindsay and Doug. Leaders of some of America's allies, including France, the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia and Japan, have all sent fairly standard messages of congratulations to President-elect Trump. But here in Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is notably enthusiastic, calling Trump's victory history's greatest comeback and saying, quote, "This is a huge victory." His office says the two spoke for 20 minutes tonight discussing Israel's security. Now, the warmth of Netanyahu's reaction is perhaps not surprising, given apparent strains in the relationship between Netanyahu and the Biden administration over the war in Gaza, in particular the civilian death toll and the dire humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, in Russia, a presidential spokesman said he was not aware of any plans by Vladimir Putin to congratulate Donald Trump and described relations with the U.S. as at a historic low.
Okay, so Netanyahu is very happy about Trump being elected. He's overly thrilled. I guess because Trump doesn't have to pretend, right, that he cares about Palestinian people. Biden had to. So next, this happened. Trump took credit for the U.S. and Houthis reaching a ceasefire deal.
He's been conducting top-level diplomatic talks as Donald Trump's Middle East envoy for months. But it wasn't until Tuesday that Steve Witkoff was officially sworn in.
It's not about trade, it's about something else.
And it was at that ceremony that the U.S. president again hinted to reporters something big was imminent.
A truly earth-shattering and positive development for this country.
Trump's tease came just hours after another abrupt announcement. After a nearly 2-month air campaign, Trump says the U.S. will halt strikes against Houthi targets in Yemen immediately. Trump says the group reached out expressing a desire to stop fighting with the United States.
We're taking the word of the Houthis, but they didn't want any more, and I understand that.
2 U.S. carrier strike groups remain in the region, and no official end to the U.S. offensive against the Houthis has been announced. The verbal agreement appearing to catch even the Pentagon off guard.
We just informed them a little while ago, and all action is stopping. Some people probably haven't heard yet.
Hours earlier, U.S. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio told reporters the U.S. goal to reopen international shipping in the Red Sea, impeded by Houthi attacks, has been met.
These are, a band of individuals with advanced weaponry that were threatening global shipping, and the job was to get that to stop. And if it's going to stop, then we can stop.
But the Houthis maintain they're only stopping attacks on U.S. interests. Operations supporting Gaza are ongoing, leading to confusion over whether the Houthis will continue targeting ships linked to Israel. What's clear is when Trump visits the region next week, he'll only travel to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE.
We're not planning on stopping in Israel, but we will be doing it at some point, but not for this trip.
With ceasefire talks stalled and Israel expanding its offensive, the White House says a visit to Israel's not on the itinerary. Kimberly Helkett, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Okay. So things are starting to look up in this region, not for the whole region, but this is something that happened close to when Trump started in office. Next, Israel launches sweeping strike on Iran while Trump administration seeks diplomatic solution. And this was on June 12th of this year, so just like a week ago. They just start bombing the shit out of Iran. Netanyahu says the fight is not with the Iranian people. The fight is with the brutal dictatorship of Iran. So, take a look at that. It's the same guy.
Fox News alert, we can confirm Israel is launching a series of preemptive airstrikes against Iran right now. Explosions reported in the capital of Tehran. Trey Yingst is in Jerusalem with the latest. Trey, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Jesse, good evening. Fox News can confirm that the Israeli Air Force is currently striking Iranian nuclear facilities and long-range missile capabilities. This is a significant strike that is expected to take place in a series of waves. According to an IDF official, the opening wave targeted more than a dozen different sites in Iran. Explosions were reported around the capital of Tehran, and as we speak, a state of emergency has been declared across Israel as the Israelis are bracing for possible Iranian retaliation. I want to take you through how we learned about these strikes taking place. At 2:16 a.m. local time, U.S. Ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, tweeted out that there was something going on. He says, at our embassy in Jerusalem and closely following the situation, we will remain here all night, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. 45 minutes later, sirens started to sound across central Israel. We could hear them here in Tel Aviv, and then moments later, a text alert from Israel's Home Front Command warning people to be prepared for special instructions, at which point a statement was sent out by Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz, declaring that state of emergency across the country. We have seen Iranian retaliation following Israeli strikes just last year, and it could involve a series of different things, including ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. But again, the latest information, Jesse, that we can confirm tonight.
Yeah, so then they struck a bunch of nuclear facilities in Iran that were not proven to be making missiles. They were just power plants, basically. Also, I'd like to point out over here on this Fox News site, Anti-Semitism Exposed. Fox News Anti-Semitism Exposed newsletter brings you stories on the rising anti-Jewish prejudice across the U.S. and the world. These people have made it to where the word anti-Semitism means absolutely fucking nothing. Because if you're against this war, you have all these bootlicking cheerleaders that come out to tell you you're a communist, traitor, anti-Semite that just hates Jews. That's the only reason you're against this war, is just because you just do not like Jewish people. A lot of Americans aren't even making it about the fact that they're Jews. They're imposing the fact that Israeli people are Jewish onto people. Like, it doesn't even come up. They're just mad at the genocide. Because it's their only way out of... It's the only thing that they can actually, like, try to use. Like, the funny part about that is that the only reason that a lot of people do support this is because they are racist. They don't give a shit about Arab people. So, and then, the next day, the U.S. brought a bunch of fucking warships to the Middle East. We're sending them a shitload of equipment. The United States is shifting military resources, including ships, in the Middle East in response to Israel's strikes on Iran. And a possible retaliatory attack by Tehran, by 2 U.S. officials, said Friday. The Navy has directed the destroyer Thomas Hudner, which is capable of defending against ballistic missiles, to begin sailing from the western Mediterranean Sea toward the eastern Mediterranean, and has directed a second destroyer to begin moving forward so it can be available if requested by the White House. Trump is meeting with his National Security Council principals Friday, which was a couple days ago. Or that's tomorrow. Okay, never mind. No, wait. Yeah, that'd be the next day for them. Okay. The forces in the region have been taking precautionary measures for days, including having military dependents voluntarily depart regional bases in anticipation of the strikes, and protect those personnel in case of a large-scale response from Tehran. I wonder why they would do Typically around 30,000 troops are based in the Middle East, and about 40,000 troops are in the region now, according to a third U.S. official. That number has surged as high as 43,000 last October, amid ongoing tensions, as well as continuous attacks on commercial and military ships in the Red Sea by the Iranian-backed. They always have to say Iranian-backed. You notice that. Like that all these other groups are really just under these bad guys. Like they're extensions of them. The Navy has additional assets that it could surge to the Middle East if needed, particularly its aircraft carriers and the warships that sail with them. The aircraft carrier Carl Vinson is in the Arabian Sea, the only aircraft carrier in the region. The carrier Nimitz is in the Indo-Pacific and could be directed toward the Middle East if needed. And the carrier George Washington just left its port in Japan and could be directed to the region if so ordered, one of the officials said. Then President Joe Biden initially urged ships to protect Israel following the attacks by Hamas launched the war in Gaza. It was seen as a deterrent against Hezbollah and Iran at the time. On October 1st, 2024, U.S. Navy destroyers fired about a dozen interceptors in defense of Israel as the country came under attack by more than 200 missiles in Iran. And that the rhetoric I'm seeing right now is like, we don't need to get involved, but it should be pretty fucking obvious that we are involved. So, next, we bombed the ship. We actually gave Israel the particular missiles that they used on Iran, like right before they used them. And now that we've attacked Iran, the Trump team proposes Iran talks this week on nuclear deal. The nuclear deal that Trump pulled out of in his first term just to spite Obama. That was keeping Iran from doing something like this to begin with. So the White House is discussing with Iran the possibility of a meeting this week between U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. I'm bad with Arab names. According to 4 sources briefed on the issue. The objective would be to discuss a diplomatic initiative involving a nuclear deal and an end to the war between Israel and Iran. This meeting hasn't been finalized yet, but it is part of a last-ditch effort by Trump to swerve away from war and back toward deal-making. A meeting with the Iranians this week is under consideration, a U.S. official confirmed. The meeting could be a make-or-break moment for the question of whether the U.S. will join the war in order to eliminate Iran's nuclear program militarily. The latest is Trump told reporters on Air Force One on Tuesday morning that he may send Witkoff and Vice President Vance to meet the Iranians, but stressed it depends what happens when he gets back to Washington. Trump stressed he is not too much in the mood to negotiate with Iran and is not looking for a ceasefire. We're looking at better than a ceasefire, an end, a real end. Not a ceasefire, a real end. He later explained that he is looking for as a complete give-up by Iran. Trump warned Iran against targeting U.S. forces and interests in the region. We will come down so hard if they do anything to our people, it'd be gloves off. I think they know not to touch our troops, he said. So, he's saying, I don't want to go to war, but we'll go to war. And then this happens.
Here's a look at where U.S. forces are in the Middle East right now.
A day ago, by the way. This happened yesterday.
Now, in the eastern Mediterranean Sea, there are 3 destroyers in the Red Sea, and then there's 2 destroyers, in the Red Sea. And in the Arabian Sea, there's a USS Carl Vinson carrier strike group, including an aircraft carrier, 3 destroyers, and a guided missile cruiser. And heading to the Middle East right now from the Indo-Pacific Command, the USS Carl Nimitz carrier strike group, including an aircraft carrier and 3 destroyers. They just passed what's called the Malacca Strait, a passage between Indonesia and Malaysia. And the number of American troops in the Middle East right now, approximately 40,000 U.S. forces total. In Iraq, there are about 3,000. and in Syria, about 1,000. CBS News Pentagon reporter Eleanor Watson tells us how the Pentagon is framing the additional movements here.
The Pentagon is sending additional forces towards the Middle East amid the ongoing conflict between Iran and Israel. Those additional forces include more fighter jets, refueling tankers, and a second carrier strike group. The second aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz, was always expected to head from the Indo-Pacific towards the Middle East, but is now going, quote, without delay, according to U.S. officials. And that carrier will add to the naval presence the U.S. has throughout the region, which includes destroyers with ballistic missile defense systems that have, along with ground-based defense interceptors, been helping Israel defend itself by shooting down incoming Iranian missiles and drones. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth yesterday in a statement said that the additional movements were to enhance the defensive posture to protect some 40,000 U.S. forces that are in the Middle East. But U.S. officials also tell us that those same movements also provide President Trump with options. Should Iran decide to attack those U.S. forces, or should President Trump decide to join Israel's ongoing military campaign? Eleanor Watson, CBS News.
So we're sending more people. More and more and more and more. So that's cool. Something else that's developed, though, is a lot of these MAGA people are starting to change their mind. There's like a little schism going on right now. This guy right here, Marjorie Taylor Greene, says if U.S. attacks, or U.S. carries out attacks on Iran, it will split the MAGA movement. Georgia U.S. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene says if the U.S. were to carry out attacks on Iran over their ongoing conflict with Israel, the move would split the MAGA movement. During an interview this week, Greene said that many of Trump's followers would feel betrayed by the move because it would be going against Trump's normal America First stance. He said, it's going to fracture it, and it's already fracturing it, Greene said. It is not anti-Semitic to say that we do not want to go to war against Iran or any other country. Trump has downplayed any notion that his supporters are cooling on him amid the uncertainty over whether he will order a U.S. strike on the country. My supporters are more in love with me today, and I'm more in love with them more than they even were at election time, where we had a total landslide, Trump told reporters. I may have some people that are a little bit unhappy right now, but I have some people that are very happy, and I have people outside of the base that can't believe that this is happening. They're so happy. Greene is just one of the several people in the MAGA world who said they will not back the president on the Iran attack. Others include Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, and Steve Bannon. I mean, I like Marjorie, but to be honest with you, he doesn't understand the threat, in my view, Graham said. Lindsey Graham. If you don't understand that Iran, a religious theocracy, religious Nazis, would use a nuclear weapon to kill all the Jews, you don't listen to what they say. I'm not here to defend Iran's government. I know they're a evil Muslim theocracy. I'm here to say we don't have to fucking invade their country. For what? For what? We're democracy? Anyway, here's what the closet gay man Lindsey Graham kept saying. They're a threat to us. They're a threat to the state of Israel. Graham continued. It is not in the world's interest to give this religious fanatic a nuclear weapon. Then how come we're allowed to have them? That's not fucking fair. The stakes are high for Trump and the world as he continues a push-pull debate between his goals of avoiding dragging the U.S. into another war and preventing Iran from attaining a nuclear weapon. I'm not looking to fight, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office, but if it's a choice between fighting and having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Another person in the MAGA movement that's not too happy about it is this fuckface right here. Talking with the Zodiac Killer. So check this out.
How many people live in Iran, by the way? I don't know the population. At all? No, I don't know the population. You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple? How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
It's not
even. You don't know anything about Iran. So
okay, I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know
claims
anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump.
No,
You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
Which is, if you allow it, you will encourage more of it.
This is high stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening, Carlson said. Yeah, suddenly Tucker Carlson is anti-war. I don't know why he wasn't 20 years ago, but suddenly he's not like other girls, ooh. But you can see the schism here. I'm really afraid that my country is going to be weakened by this. I think we're going to see the end of the American empire. Yeah, he also talked with Steve Bannon about this. Shit. Readjusting. Okay. In response, Trump fired back on Truth Social, writing, "Somebody please explain to kooky Tucker Carlson that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon." We're almost done here. Then this happens 2 days ago. G7 leaders urged de-escalation, but stopped short of calling for Israel-Iran ceasefire.
We all know the great Prime Minister of the UK, and we just signed a document. This is... Sorry about that. This is it.
Good fucking job, numbnuts.
Very important document. Little windy out here. Give me that one. We just signed it, and it's done. And so we have our trade agreement with the European Union, and it's a fair deal for both.
Thanks very much. This now implements on car tariffs and aerospace, our really important agreement. And so this is a very good day for both of our countries, a real sign of strength. So thank you again, Donald.
I think a deal will be signed, or something will happen, but a deal will be signed. And I think Iran is foolish not to sign one. I think Iran basically is at the negotiating table. They want to make a deal.
Yeah, they didn't talk about the ceasefire, though. They basically just went there to talk shit about that. We'll get to this stuff in a minute. So, what happens if the U.S. attacks Iran? While the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are often cited as cautionary tales against further American military interventions, momentum in the West appears to be shifting towards another escalation in the Middle East. Let's see here. Yeah, U.S. media outlets are increasingly filled with stories and op-ed columns drawing comparisons to the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, hailing a dazzling series of victories by Israel. These narratives often portray Israel, a small state, as having launched brilliant attacks on Iran, a country of 92 million people, targeting its top leadership and nuclear scientists. In the context of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's government's genocidal campaign in Gaza, these Israeli strikes are famed by much of the Western media as a courageous war cry and a righteous battle against a so-called evil regime in Tehran. Yet Israel, unlike other states in the region, has nuclear weapons, receives state-of-the-art weaponry from Washington, and is shielded by sophisticated American air defenses. Should the U.S. formally enter this ongoing war, the consequences could be far more destabilizing than many of the West anticipate. A potential U.S. entry into the Israel-Iran war would mark a pivotal turning point, not just for the trajectory of the conflict, but for the entire Middle East and international order, which could fundamentally reshape the Muslim-Arab majority region, says Andreas Krieg, It would embolden hardline actors across the region and possibly fracture the nascent détente that the Gulf states have been trying to build with Iran. Krieg adds the U.S. involvement could derail ongoing Gulf-led diplomatic efforts, particularly in Qatar-Oman initiative aimed at reviving nuclear negotiations. If the U.S. were to intervene, Iran's weakened regional allies and its axis of resistance, a coalition of Shia forces from Lebanon's Hezbollah, Yemen's Houthis, and Iraq's Hezbollah might be reactivated in a desperate bid to stretch U.S. capacity across multiple fronts. What began as a shadow war is evolving into a protracted, multi-domain confrontation with no clear exit, but with immense risks of regional implosion. So, not good. It would destabilize the whole fucking region. Again. We might see terror cells from across the, the people that do support Iran. So that's fun. And something else I'd like to bring up. I like this website, by the way, Global Firepower. But something that's interesting to bring up here is that Iraq and Iran are not the same fucking place. Afghanistan and Iran are not the same fucking place. Syria and Iran are not the same fucking place. If we go to war with Iran, we are not fighting rebels. We are not fighting civilians with AK-47s. We are fighting a big-ass country with a mountainous region and a legitimate military. It's not the same fucking thing. So here's their 2025 strength. I've compared them to Iraq just to kind of show you. So Iraq has the 43rd largest military in the world. Iran has the 16th largest military in the world. Let's see here. They have about 50 million available manpower for their military. About 41 million fit for service. Let's see here. They have about 610,000 active personnel. They have 350,000 reserve personnel. 220,000 paramilitary forces. They have a defense budget of $15 billion. Let's see here. Let's go down to... Okay. They have 551 aircraft. 188 fighter aircraft. 21 dedicated attack. 87 transport. 103 trainers. 10 special mission. But, they have 6 aerial tankers, 128 helicopters, 13 attack helicopters. And I'm not trying to say that, like, oh, the U.S. military doesn't compare. What I'm saying is this is a way bigger, more expensive, bloodier, horrible fucking war than what we've seen, than what we saw George Bush do. They have about 1,700 tanks, about 66,000 armored vehicles, 392 self-propelled artillery, 2,000 towed artillery, 1,500 mobile rocket projectors. They have about 107 ships in their navy, with 25 submarines, 7 frigates, 3 corvettes, 21 patrol vessels, 1 mine warfare. This does matter for logistics. They have 173 airports, 965 merchant marine ships, which you can guarantee will come into play, 18 ports and terminals. They have a pretty big labor force, which is also important for war, that a lot of people don't take into consideration. They have the 24th largest labor force in the world. Lots of fucking roadways. Lots of oil. Let's see here. a shitload of natural gas. They have the third most natural gas production in the world. I think number one's Russia. Proven natural gas reserves, they're second in the world. Let's see here, coal production, yeah, geography. They're a big fucking country. Like, they're a huge country. 1,648,195 kilometers. About 2,500 kilometers of coastline. 850 kilometers of waterways. So, this is not a country to laugh at. We're not going in to fight farmers with weapons. We are going in to a legitimate country. Like I said, they are the 16th most powerful country in the world, which is nothing to laugh at. I got just two more things I want to show you here. So this is an official White House statement that came out 2 days ago. President Trump has always been clear. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. President Donald J. Trump never wavered in his stance that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, a pledge he has made repeatedly both in office and on the campaign trail. Since taking office, President Trump has clearly stated no fewer than a dozen times that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. You don't have to go too deep into it. They just can't have a nuclear weapon. I want to see no nuclear weapon in Iran, and we're well on our way to making sure that happens. You can't have peace if Iran has a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. We're not going to allow that. You have to view them as people, and I don't want it to be a violent thing, but they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. I want them to succeed. I want them to end up being a great country, frankly, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. And this just goes back and back and back. Yeah, there he is on the campaign trail talking about it. Just all the way back. Rapid Response 47 says, President Donald J. Trump has never wavered on his stance that Iran cannot be allowed to have a nuclear weapon. A pledge that he has made repeatedly. Yeah. And that leads to this page. So, there's actually no proof at all that Iran is making a nuclear weapon. Even U.S. spies have come out and said that they are not currently trying to make nuclear weapons. But it seems like we're just going to ignore that. And this is just what's next in our country's history. So I'd like to leave you guys with one more little thing here.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign. More than 35 countries are giving crucial support, from the use of naval and air bases, to help with intelligence and logistics, to the deployment of combat units. Every nation in this coalition has chosen to bear the duty and share the honor of serving in our common defense. To all the men and women of the United States Armed Forces now in the Middle East, the peace of a troubled world and the hopes of an oppressed people now depend on you. That trust is well placed. The enemies you confront will come to know your skill and bravery. The people you liberate will witness the honorable and decent spirit of the American military. In this conflict, America faces an enemy who has no regard for conventions of war or rules of morality. Saddam Hussein has placed Iraqi troops and equipment in civilian areas, attempting to use innocent men, women, and children as shields for his own military, a final atrocity against his people. I want Americans and all the world to know that coalition forces will make every effort to spare innocent civilians from harm. A campaign on the harsh terrain of a nation as large as California could be longer and more difficult than some predict. And helping Iraqis achieve a united, stable, and free country will require our sustained commitment. We come to Iraq with respect for its citizens, for their great civilization, and for the religious faiths they practice. We have no ambition in Iraq except to remove a threat and restore control of that country to its own people. I know that the families of our military are praying that all those who serve will return safely and soon. Millions of Americans are praying with you for the safety of your loved ones and for the protection of the innocent. For your sacrifice, you have the gratitude and respect of the American people. And you can know that our forces will be coming home as soon as their work is done. Our nation enters this conflict reluctantly, yet our purpose is sure. The people of the United States and our friends and allies will not live at the mercy of an outlaw regime that threatens the peace with weapons of mass murder. We will meet that threat now with our Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines, so that we do not have to meet it later with armies of firefighters and police and doctors on the streets of our cities. Now that conflict has come, the only way to limit its duration is to apply decisive force. And I assure you, this will not be a campaign of half measures, and we will accept no outcome but victory. My fellow citizens, the dangers to our country and the world will be overcome. We will pass through this time of peril and carry on the work of peace. We will defend our freedom. We will bring freedom to others, and we will prevail. May God bless our country and all who defend her.